To begin, though, I want to introduce Anandan, who's the director of Microsoft Research India and a dear friend of mine for the last 6 years. I followed him and Kantaro Toyama out to Bangalore 6 years ago to help start the Microsoft Research Lab. Anandan's own contributions to the field of computer science are deep and impressive indeed. If you've seen The Matrix and you remember that bullet time sequence, his work on optical flow was literally the basis of that. In his role as managing director of MSR India, Anandan's been instrumental in bringing together industry, academia, and the government to raise the preeminence of computer science in India and encourage more researchers to come into the field and expand that field. His team in MSR India leads the world in terms of IT for emerging markets and underserved communities, digital geographics, mobility and networks, multilingual systems, especially with a focus on Indic language systems, rigorous software engineering, cryptography, security, applied mathematics, and algorithms research. Anandan's a native of Chennai. He holds a PhD in computer science from the University of Massachusetts at Amherst. He also writes wonderful poetry, which unfortunately I can only appreciate for its sonic beauty. He's a student of philosophy in the mind and also an amazing drummer. He's a scholar, a leader, and someone who I'm very honored to call my friend, Mr. P. Anandan.
Okay, good morning. Of course, I am super delighted for this day. You know, when you start something like this, you start counting the days and how long are we going to last, and then the more stable you are, the longer you last, you begin to feel better. 5 years is a start. The other day I was at some event celebrating the 800th anniversary of Cambridge University, 100th anniversary of Indian Institute of Science. It was the same day as the 5th anniversary of Microsoft Research India, so I think we have some ways to go. So I'm going to just cover what we have done over the last 5 years, give you a little feel for where we came from and where we are today. And I should thank my friend Kumaran for coming up with this high-performance slide. In fact, thank him for all my slides, actually. And let me move on. So let's begin with some history. Of course, for us, history began on December 1, 2004. Before that, we didn't know what happened. And Microsoft made the big announcement in India. And this, of course, is thanks to my dear friend Mike Holland, who was the head of real estate and facilities. And Sean is prominently featured there, as you can see. Of course, those of you who know something about movies know where this came from. And it's been a ride. I'm sure Sean will agree it's been a ride for his life. But seriously, on December 1, we announced the setting up of the lab. And this was a cut out from Economic Times, I think, which came out on that day. And we had a very lot of coverage, both in India and US and international coverage. So we started with a bang. And on January 12, 2005, we had our inauguration at the Taj West End. The Honorable Minister Kapil Sibal, who was then the Minister for Science and Technology, was gracious enough to inaugurate our lab. And you can see some of the pictures here. And I'm going to actually play a little clip from his inaugural speech.
Kind of evangelical spirit with which Microsoft is working, not just in India, but in other parts of the world, suggests that we can be partners in this evangelism, and we can move together with you. And I'm sure that this indeed is a very historic event, this inauguration of this facility, and Anandan will prove to be the beacon light of this great enterprise in India. And I can tell you from my standpoint that we in the Ministry of Science and Technology and the Government of India would be very happy partners in this great enterprise of yours. And thank you very much, and very good luck to you, and all the best to everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sibal. And now I'd like to request the Honorable Minister and Dr. Rashid to unveil the Microsoft Research India plaque to commemorate this special occasion.
So that was then. This is our plaque, which hangs somewhere. I'm not exactly sure where we put it. But this is what Rick said at the inauguration. And the goals that he set up are the goals, in fact, that I think we have still followed, and we try to stay true to it. And I'll tell you something about it. Now, the founders, my co-founders, were Kentaro and Sean, obviously. And Sean, in addition to being a co-founder, I think the second best-looking MC that we have had You saw the first one during our inauguration video clip. And this is how Sean looked in 2004. That's Kentaro on the left and Sean for you. They were fully indoctrinated and become part of Indian culture. Sean has moved on to really become part of Indian culture. You should ask him more about it later. Now, in 2005, this is what I said. And in fact, we have kept true to this statement for the last 5 years. Once again, I'll hopefully be able to tell you a little bit about how we have gone about doing it. But like Rick always says in his talks, Microsoft's goals have always been first to advance the state of science in whatever field that we work in. And then, of course, using our ideas and so on to impact Microsoft products and through that, the world. And being in India gives us a special opportunity to be at a time where India is growing, very optimistic, looking forward to growing in R&D and innovation. We are happy to be a part of that. The first year was a very interesting year. We had 4 people at the time of inauguration. I'm going to ask Nimmi, who's like in the 4th row, that stand up so you can all see. The truth is, of the 4 of us, she and I are the only ones who are still in the company. Sean has moved on to start his own company. Again, you can ask him about it. We started with some idea of 4 research groups. This has evolved over time. And in October 2005, the IT minister, Mr. Dayanidhi Maran, was kind enough to inaugurate our building, which is in Sadashiv Nagar, and I invite all of you to come and visit us. And Dr. Craig Mundy, who is Chief Technology Officer at that time and now Chief Research and Strategy Officer, was kind enough to come and co-inaugurate the building with him. So it was a nice event at that time. But that was a little bit short-lived. Many of you might remember the famous riots after the actor Rajkumar died. And we were obviously victims of that. And every building that had glass anywhere in that part of the city, the glass was removed. And we were only about a block away from Rajkumar's house, so we had a particularly special treatment. My friend Professor Pandurangan at IIT Madras used to say, Microsoft Research is only a stone's throw away from Rajkumar's house. But we recovered from it. And to sort of make up for it, we hired Sriram Rajamani, who's now become our assistant managing director. And things went on. But I'm not going to waste your time talking about every year. It'll never finish. There's lots of stories, but let's move on to today. So where are we? It's been a great 5th year. We've got 7 research groups now, which I'll tell you about. Of course, the highlight for us and highlight for everyone who works at Microsoft and for anyone really is a chance to be with Bill Gates. And last summer, Bill Gates came to India and we had a special event. Once again, our friend, Mr. Kapil Sibal, joined us at that time. He's not in the picture. And so we all took this picture. I should say something about this picture. Everybody had set up the seating so that, Bill would sit on one side, so they wanted to be close to him. But I spoiled the whole thing by coming and sitting on the wrong side. But my apologies to my dear friends. But anyway, that's where it is. And but there's some downs. Many of you might already know, but if you don't know, I'll announce it. Kentaro Toyama, after 12 years at Microsoft and 5 years in the lab, has decided to move on and pursue careers other than technology research. One of the problems with getting someone into ICT for development is they forget the ICT after a part and move all the way into development. So he's now doing a 1-year tenure at Berkeley, and then he's going to be an independent thinker. And I'm sure we will all hear a lot from him. Kentaro is very vocal and articulate, and I'm looking forward to hearing about his opinions. So he left earlier this year. But, Kentaro or no Kentaro, Sean, whatever, people have been our greatest asset. So a little bit of a gallery of pictures. These are the people that are currently in the lab. So they might all be around, and if someone particularly looks like intelligent or interesting, feel free to catch them and talk to them. We have grown to about 56 people now. We have 20% women, which is obviously not enough, but frankly, it's probably better than a lot of what computer science, companies and others are doing. When it comes to interns, we are doing very well. We've had about 430 interns in the last 5 years. This year, we've already had about 50, and we're probably going to reach 100. And, with about 23 PhDs and about 40 researchers, that's a very good ratio. And there we are doing very well on the gender ratio. We've had, 24% women. And quite a lot of interns from India, but also quite a lot of interns from abroad. One of the things that we have noticed is as the lab has progressed, the quality of the people that we have hired has consistently become better and better. For instance, a couple of years ago, we were able to hire Dr. Ravi Kannan, who is a well-known professor in theoretical computer science, who was at Yale University, to join us. Since then, we have hired Neeraj Kayal, who those of you who know computer science know that he's the K in the AKS polynomial testing, polynomial proof. And then we have Bill Thies, who's one of the best students to come out of MIT last year. And my friend, Professor Malik, who's out there, admitted that we actually beat Berkeley in hiring him. So that's a moment to celebrate, frankly. And someone told me this one time. Some of us who started early will probably not be able to get a job in Microsoft Research in India if we join now. So I'm glad I'm a founder, so I can still keep my job. And we've had a great time. So let me talk a little bit about the kind of research that we have done. As I said, we have 7 research groups. I'm going to just flip quickly through the 7 groups and what they do. A lot of this information is on our website, so I'm not going to dwell on it and spend a lot of time telling you about it. So let me just quickly say what the groups are about. The first group I'll start with is the Algorithms and Search group led by Dr. Ravi Kannan. And algorithms, many of you might think about as this boring stuff that proves graph theory things or something like that, and spends a lot of time proving convergence over small problems. But really, algorithms has evolved as a field. And in the age when we are dealing with massive data sets, large networks, a lot of streaming of data, big storage, but also a lot more data than can be stored even. That traditional approach to algorithms doesn't really cut in. So the field has now moved on to looking at algorithms which are much more dynamic. Perhaps you cannot prove accurately what can be done, but you can get a good estimate of the approximate solution. And you can actually deal with algorithms that can compute on the fly, sampling the data using stochastic methods and so on. And Ravi is, in fact, one of the leaders in the area. And soon, I think in a couple of years, when you go to take algorithms class, this is the kind of stuff that you'll be learning. And one of the other theoretical groups that we have is the Cryptography, Security, and Applied Mathematics group. And most of you know that there is this stereotype reputation that India produces people with great mathematical talent. So theory areas, India will always have a strong, presence. And in fact, it's true. Actually, one of the reasons why we built this group is because getting talent in the theoretical mathematical areas in India is actually quite a bit easier than other areas. But the group is looking at security as a topic, using formal methods and so on to prove and detect vulnerabilities of systems, analyze their problems, invent basic stuff in cryptography, but also do cryptanalysis. What are the vulnerabilities of coding methods? Can they be attacked? And before the bad guys find out, it's better we find out, and we won't tell them. And basic mathematical ideas in applied mathematics, complexity, linear algebra, as related to computer science and cryptography. And of course, one of the ways in which you measure success of any research organization is the kind of papers and the kind of places where they publish those papers. And those of you, again, who know the field will know these are some of the top conferences and journals, and our presence is quite strong out there. And we've also been working with quite a lot of product groups in this area. Another area which is special to India, as Sean mentioned in the beginning, is that with being in a country with such a number of languages, thinking about one language is simply not a meaningful thing to do. Fundamentally, we have to look at how to deal with cross-language computing. We have people who may be talking to each other in different languages, but more than that, content and information is present in a wide variety of languages. How can we make it easy for people to get content from different languages and use it, create content in different languages? And that's been the focus of this group. We have developed a content, cross-lingual information retrieval system, which is currently one of the leaders in the area, and a bunch of other things which I won't have time to tell you. Now, of course, everyone thinks of India as the world's headquarters of software development. Yet at the same time, analysis of software and being able to increase the productivity of software engineers and things like that are not actually very advanced. So Sriram brought this vision to us. In fact, he is a very well-known figure in the area of program verification and testing. Since he came here, however, he's been looking at how to combine program verification and formal analysis with statistical methods. So he calls it PASTA. So it's a bit of a mishmash, I suppose, but it seems to work. In addition, more recently, they're looking at in the era of multi-core computers, large clusters, distributed systems, data centers, dealing with concurrency and programming in parallel becomes an important. As I think I was listening to a talk by somebody yesterday, even after this many years, we haven't really significantly advanced in our ability to program many machines in an efficient way. So that becomes a very interesting research challenge. This group is very productive, won a couple of best papers in the Foundations of Software Engineering Conference, the leading conference in software engineering. And they've got a variety of projects. They seem to have a good way of coming up with the pictures and logos for their projects. Of course, once again, when you're thinking about computing in the modern age, you think about network computing. Simple one computer desktop computing is passé. Again, we are dealing with the area of big data centers, cloud computing. But more than anything else, mobile computing. In a country with 400 million mobile phones and still growing, how do we leverage these little nodes which are ad hoc, may not be controlled, may be available, may not be available, but also has sensors on them? And how do we leverage the power of the cloud in order to do better things with mobile computing and data communications? That's been the theme of this group, a number of projects. Again, I'll refer you to our web pages for more information. These are the kind of conferences in which they publish. And of course, as Sean himself said, this is an area that we are known for. I think arguably one of the 2 or 3 best groups in the world. It's an area that we actually pioneered, and Kentaro is a great visionary behind it. And basically, right in the beginning, we realized that bringing a bunch of engineers and throwing them at development problems is not the answer. In fact, what you want to do is to moderate their passion by having a bunch of social scientists who actually know what is going on and can tell us what are the real problems to work on. Many times, technology may not be the answer to the kind of challenges that are found in society. So we have a mixture of social scientists and computer scientists, which actually gives lab a little bit of vibrancy. The social scientists tend to be more human than computer scientists, first of all. And so it's been a very productive group. It's actually pioneered the ICTD conference, which is a conference series in the world, which is first of a technology conference or technical conference in the area of ICT for development. Many projects, lots of rural visits, lots of collaborations with NGOs. It's a very fun and active group. Of course, there is a most important group in the lab. It's a very small group in the area of vision graphics and visualization, no personal bias or anything like that. We've been doing some great work, not me, but my colleagues, in the area of object detection and image search, and getting some very interesting advances in very efficient search in the area of finding relevant images for queries and things of that sort. Now, one way, as I said, to measure the quality and the productivity of a work is to look at where you publish. If you can quickly read all these acronyms and translate them, you'll realize that we publish in the best possible places. Otherwise, you just focus on the ones that you already know. So in your area, like I know what ICCV is, but I may not know what NSDI is, for example. So we have been very productive, publishing constantly. And when I first looked at this chart, I told Sriram, we've just published 86 papers in all these years, and then he reminded me this is actually number of papers per year. So that's a great relief. So I think we are doing well. And with any luck, if this graph continues, we should be about 200 papers with 50 researchers or something. I'm not serious, but anyway, so it'll be great. And of course, another testament to the productivity and success is the quality of work, which is one way to find out is the way in which the community has recognized the value of the papers. So we won continuously best paper prizes and other awards in various forums in the world. So it's every year we get 1 or 2. And as I said earlier, we have been the pioneer in creating this conference series in ICT for development, and we continuously sponsor and organize workshops and conferences in every field. I mean, this is a routine activity that I wouldn't even count. For example, we organized 5 international workshops just in 2009 and 10. And being in India provides us a great opportunity to collaborate with a small but growing research community here. Being close to Indian Institute of Science, just 2 kilometers away, means that we have a great access to the faculty there, the students, so we collaborate with them a lot. Number of our scientists go there and give lectures, teach courses, things like that. And we are also co-advising a number of students from various Indian institutions, as well as international universities. And we are doing certain things as a community-oriented project. So I'll speak a little bit about a few of them. Just to mention one of them is that there is a lot of effort in getting resources for language computing in the context of Indian languages. Indian languages are notoriously resource poor, which means we don't have enough corpora or examples to train systems, and we have working with a lot of our partners to develop a bigger corpora. And the second half of what we can talk about is briefly touch upon this technology transfer. We have a group dedicated for it called the Advanced Development and Prototyping Team. And their job is really to help us with technology transfer, but also understand where the opportunities are and talk to our researchers about where their priorities may be, but also showcase the stuff we do in large forums and things like that. We have about 7 or 8 people. I won't count the technology transfer. We probably have about 10 or so that were done in different areas. And a couple of projects that are worth mentioning is the Address Geocoder project, which came entirely out of this group and now is part of Bing Maps in different countries and will soon come to India as well. Now, beyond ourselves and beyond our research and beyond Microsoft products and so on, we are also quite keen on to have an impact on society. The Digital Green Project, which was started in our ICT for Development group, the Technology for Emerging Market group, has actually now been spun out as an NGO. That's no longer part of our lab. It's gone off on its own. Rikin Gandhi, who started that project, is now heading that NGO, and it's already got a $1 million funding from the Gates Foundation. I think he spends most of his time in Bihar or Uttaranchal or some other, Jharkhand or someplace like that. The other project I want to mention is, and this is quite exciting to me and dear to my heart, is the idea of bringing the power of multimedia, visualization, graphics, imaging technologies to capture, archive, and share India's vast cultural heritage, both tangible and intangible heritage. And we have done some interesting demos, which has led to the creation of a national project being funded by Department of Science and Technology, involving about a dozen computer science researchers from around the country, all the IITs and IIITs and Indian Institute of Science and other places, as well as about 10 people from what we call the culture community, artists, art historians, anthropologists. So very interesting mixture of these technical people and the culture people. So we got the uncultured people and the culture people. Hopefully something will happen. And this is probably the first time something like that actually been done. And we are very involved in driving this project, playing an anchor role. And the project is at the last stages of review for finalizing DST funding, and it will get started soon. Now, as I said, part of our work is really to work with the ecosystem in India at a time when the ecosystem is growing. When we came to India, the number of PhDs in computer science were something like 35 to 40 a year. I understand now the number is close to 80 to 100. May not seem a lot, but doubling in 5 years, but I think it's just the beginning. And what I understand is there are more than 500 or 600 PhD students registered across the different IITs and IIScs in India, and that number is growing. So we really are looking to a time of growth. And I think we've always been there right from the beginning to be a part of it. Now we are also moving on to addressing societal challenges through large collaborative, organizational, national, international projects, and also bringing the power of research tools and technologies, many of them Microsoft has, to help our scientists and social, people in this, various social problems. So for example, just in the last year, we started a new program called Young Faculty Award, to give to our partners, about 16 institutions, to help young faculty be motivated and give them an extra incentive. There are 27 of those. We have 5 PhD fellowships that we give every year. It's a very competitive process, and now there are about 44 people who are competing for it. It's a very highly valued fellowship. We organize a summer school every year, and we've been doing this since the beginning. This last summer school that happened in July was on mobility networks and systems. One before that was in software engineering and so on. And we're getting more and more applications. We do this in collaboration with our partners, again, Indian Institute of Science and others. And IISc has been the host for these summer schools. And this has become so popular, now we've started having winter schools. Thanks to my friend, Professor Brendan Fry from Toronto, we actually had a winter school on machine learning and computer vision just about 2 weeks ago, or last week actually. And it was very exciting to get about 7 or 8 of the world's best scientists in the field come and give lectures for 5 days to about 80 bright students, and some of them are faculty and industry people as well. And this is something that we want to celebrate, although we are not responsible for it. It's great to see that the number of PhD students is growing in India. And the last TechVista we had in Chennai had 1,500 attendees, which is the biggest we had. This room is not big enough to accommodate so many, so we're going to keep it less. However, this afternoon session, the demo session, we have about 1,500 registrants already. So we're really excited to see more and more people get interested in the process of innovation, invention, and research. And there are many programs in the external research group. I wouldn't bother reading them out, but just to point out that this is also in our webpage, and take a look at them. Now, another way in which we want to be part of the society and take leadership is taking professional leadership by organizing conferences. One thing that's very special I want to mention, which is sort of highlighted in the picture on the right, is the first Mysore Park workshop. It's very sweet, and this is done in collaboration with Infosys and others. Mr. Muthi has been generous enough to offer the space in their Mysore campus for these workshops. These are supposed to happen 2 or 3 a year. These are intense workshops where top scientists, about 25 of them, will gather and spend 3 or 4 days in a very relaxed atmosphere, not just talking all the time, but actually getting some chance to collaborate. And the first one happened about a week or so ago. And so many such things. And we've had extraordinary group of visitors across the years. Old college friends of mine up on the top middle, Prem Devanbu from UC Davis, to distinguished professors like John Hopcroft, who's actually co-authoring a book with Ravi on algorithms, which I'm sure you'll hear about soon. Of course, the lab is not all serious and work, and sometimes people think we may not be serious enough, but we do have a lot of fun. We work hard, and you must believe that means working hard. And we play hard in all kinds of ways. And we have a lot of lab events, outings, and so on. But we tend to have fun. Our management meetings are held in excellent places. Dress code is business casual. And, food is healthy. We have free lunches, and it's the healthiest food, and people are very happy after that. And of course, diversity has been always our key target. And the work environment, this is the best work environment, very natural in India, outdoors. And certainly, we work all the time and have no time to take a break. With that, I finished. Thank you very much. I hope I gave you a little bit of a sense of where we have come in the last 5 years.